Half-Life.
I'm with the science team. I'm with the science team. I'm with the science team. I'm with the science team.
Is one of the most important and groundbreaking games in history. Now, we already know how much of an absolute classic that the first game is, but what about the sequel? Is it as good as they say? Well, in order to answer that question, we kinda need to get the gist of what Half-Life 2 even is, so allow me to quickly fill in some history here. So, it started in 1996. Our two well-known former Microsoft employees start up Valve and create their first game, Half-Life, with it releasing in 1998 to critical acclaim. Almost immediately after Half-Life 1 released, Valve started work on Half-Life 2. It goes through development hell, sees an E3 demo that everybody loved, and then it releases in 2004, with brand new technology and a brand new engine. That was extremely dumbed down and very quick, but I think that should help you understand a bit more what we're talking about here. And once again, where better to start than the beginning of the game.
So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
That intro is a really good segue into this game. Just like how we started on a tram in Half-Life 1, we also start on a train here. Can you take my luggage, please? But no, I didn't mean it.
Welcome.
In fact, I feel that its entire opening mirrors that of Half-Life 1 quite a bit, but instead of being surrounded by your co-workers in a relatively safe environment, we're instead met with hostility. Walking through the street allows us to see the oppression that our new enemies, the Combine, are enforcing onto the people here. This allows the game to set up the world in a way that seems natural, as really it's a huge shift from the last game's isolated event. Our casual stroll doesn't last long though, as the Combine catch on that something isn't quite right, and begin sending civil protection to go after us. We get cornered and...
Over here! Ha, no you don't!
Thankfully, we are saved by one of the game's new characters, Alex.
Dr. Freeman, I presume.
She's one of the more important ones. We get given our HEV suit here. This time around, the HEV suit has a few changes. We can now sprint, have a genuinely useful flashlight because of the game's new lighting, and answering my prayers from the last video, can breathe underwater. Finally. We go to get teleported to where Alex's dad is, and yes, he is the scientist from the first game. He even makes a jab at you later for never coming back with help.
The last time I saw you, I sent you up for help after the resonance cascade. I never thought it would take you this long to get back to me.
But obviously, the teleporter goes wrong. We have our first firefight with civil protection here, and get to play about with the game's funny explosive barrels, which when paired with the game's ragdoll physics is kind of hilarious. We escape for the time being and... wait. Why is he here? And why is he being nice to me? Last I remembered I slaughtered hundreds of them back at Black Mesa. Well, the Vortigaunts were actually enslaved by the Combine, and our actions at the end of the first game led to many of them being set free, and now they're helping the human resistance fight back against the Combine. More importantly though, Mighty Doom is shutting down. I need to tell somebody. Hey, did you know that Mighty Doom is shutting down? Well, I guess he really didn't like that news. Now, here we're given one of the game's first puzzles, and the goal is to figure out how to get up there. Well, Half-Life 2 is using a new engine, with new physics. Right now though, we need to put the cinder blocks on this platform to weight it down and allow us to jump across. Zombies and headcrabs have returned once again, and you know what, I actually really like the model for the zombies. They look like the old zombies but updated, just how they should be. We have been given a boat. Jokes aside, the vehicles are most likely put into this game for two reasons. One, to spice things up and provide the new player with a new gimmick to play with in the level, and two, probably to compete with Halo 2, especially considering that Halo 2 was coming out in the same year as Half-Life 2. The physics of the boat are great, albeit a bit funky, but I didn't really have any frustrating moments with it. We get chased by a helicopter, and every now and then we have to stop off on foot to fight the Combine. We arrive at Black Mesa East, where the rest of our group is staying. We meet Dr. Mossman here, and head down this elevator where we get the amusing sight of Vortigunts doing human activities. We meet up with Eli, watch Alex and Mossman start fighting with each other, and yeah, this continues later in the game as well.
Alex, why don't you take Gordon along and give him some practice with the gravity gun?
Sure. Come on, Gordon. Let's go have some fun.
The zero-point energy field manipulator is not a toy.
That's the old passage to Ravenholm. We don't go there anymore.
That's definitely not going to be important later, is it? Anyway, the gravity gun is great. I feel like Valve was really trying to flex the game's physics engine here, but it's also a key part of the game, and if it was absent, I think it would probably ruin the whole game. Also, Dog is great. I love Dog.
Bionicle, each set sold separately.
Anyway, the Combine starts shelling us, and we're now forced to run. We get blocked off from Alex and have to go a different way. Welcome to Ravenholm, the place we are not supposed to be going. I agree with the masses of people who absolutely adore this level, and I'm going to explain why it's so memorable to you. The first thing I need to get out of the way is that this level really stands out from the others due to its atmosphere. Despite the oppressive environment you find yourself in for the rest of the game, Ravenholm is the only chapter I can confidently say makes me genuinely uncomfortable. Even its soundtrack differs from the rest of the game. Kelly Bailey managed to make the soundtrack for the game in a way that gets you pumped up and ready to fight the Combine. But in Ravenholm, that's not the case. In fact, parts of it actually remind me of 1997's Blood. By far one of the best things about this level is the way it lets you use the gravity gun. This is the first level where we can use the gravity gun in combat, and Ravenholm is littered with saw blades for you to pick up and launch at the enemies. The town is infested with zombies due to the Combine shelling it. But Valve probably knew that an entire level with just one enemy type would probably be pretty boring, so they introduced a few new ones to us. This includes these stupid poisonous head crabs that literally drop you to 1 HP, although it is temporary. There's also these guys that throw them at you. These malnutrition zombies that have a very amusing scream. We also meet a new character here, Father Grigori.
I am Father Grigori. This town is dark and
a pastor who is absolutely off his nut. He is the one who built all these fancy traps we see around the town. As we leave Ravenholm, we run into more Combine, and this time, instead of just sending civil protection after us, they're sending the actual military after us. Now that we've met back up with the Resistance, we are given this buggy thing to travel across Highway 17. I really do not like the way this thing handles, and it honestly feels like a bit of a pain to drive. Highway 17 seems to me like it's one of those fan favourite levels, but to be perfectly honest, I really don't like this, especially the bits in the buggy. It gave me the same feeling that On a Rail gave me in Half-Life 1. We do get the rocket launcher in this level, which is pretty fun, but unfortunately my recording cut out after I fought one on the bridge. I was just not willing to play this entire level again because I really didn't like it and it was very long. Sand Traps is a bit more fun than Highway 17. We still have the car for a short bit, but eventually we ditch it, and that's when I started having fun again. We meet up with the Resistance, and we have this really great gunfight. I accidentally killed this guy's friend because I didn't give him enough time to finish what he was saying.
Stop where you idiot! Walking on the sand, bring landmines after you. Dear God, poor Laszlo. The finest mind of his generation to come to such an end.
In my genius brain, I figured out a new incredible traversal technique, until I got to a hill. and then my entire plan fell through. We have this sort of not really boss fight with the Antlion Queen, but it really didn't last too long. Once we've killed it, we pick up this item from its body, and the Vortigaunt explains that it acts as bait. This then led to me storming up the beach, taking out Combine bunkers with an army of antlions. Our goal here is to get into the Combine's big prison thingy that they call Nova Prospect, and rescue Eli, who has been captured by the Combine. The last little bit of this level is really challenging, with us having to fight 2 gunships at the same time to get into the prison. Once inside Nova Prospect, we're at one of my favourite parts of the game. We get introduced to the turrets here, and unlike in Half-Life 1, you can't destroy them. Although that's nothing a filing cabinet can't fix. Most of the time your best bet for getting rid of them is knocking them over with grenades. Once you do that, they then fall over and have a heart attack like the ones in Portal.
Because I'm a potato.
We fight another Antlion Queen here and have some of the best gunfights in the entire game. Once out of the prison, I really noticed how much disregard the Combine had for our architecture. They didn't even renovate the place, they just straight up dropped their stuff on top of ours. Getting back inside the prison, we meet up with Alex again. We then find Eli and really get to see how much worse this prison is than I really thought it was. This looks like a level out of Quake 2 at some points. We have to leave Alex again and end up with this part where we have to set up turrets and defend ourselves while we wait for her to get back. We find Mossman on the cameras and realise that this whole time she's been working with our villain, Dr. Brane. Once we find Mossman, we watch her and Alex have a fight, again. Then we try and get the teleporter back up and running so that we can get to Dr. Kleiner. Unfortunately, Mossman takes Eli to an unknown coordinate without us, and it leads to us getting one of the best fights in the game whilst we set up the teleporter. After teleporting back to Kleiner, who is in absolute shock that we're back, we learn that the Resistance has started to fight the Combine in City 17. We get to work with the game's squad mechanics here, and they're pretty fun. We command squads of Resistant members to go certain places, attack certain enemies, and they can also heal us and give us ammo, depending on what type of soldier they are. These bombs are really annoying. At first I didn't know what to do with them, but then figured out later that I can literally just pull them out of the floor with a gravity gun, and this led to me feeling pretty stupid. We explore more of the city and it really lets us see the destruction that's been caused by all of the fighting. And also, do you remember those big things that walked around in the intro to the game? They are called Striders, and well... yeah, we get a couple boss fights with these things throughout this level, and they're really challenging. We have to use the rocket launcher to take them out, but most of the time there is a box full of ammo that just lasts forever, so at least we have the equipment to fight them. We even get to see them destroying parts of the environment, which for a game made in 2004 is really impressive in my opinion. The areas inside are pretty great too, with us fighting Combine soldiers in these tight places, whilst we disable the generators, keeping the shield wall things up. Once we get outside again, we have to fight even more Striders. And being honest, this is probably one of the most challenging levels in the entire game. We have made our way through into the Citadel, the giant structure that we've seen in the middle of the city throughout the game, and we end up having all of our weapons taken away from us. Except the gravity gun. It instead gets charged up and becomes one of the funniest items on the planet. The gravity gun now allows us to pick up enemies, and at first I was a bit disappointed with the gravity gun not letting us do that, but now I see why it didn't let us do it in the first place, because it's absolutely broken, and I love it. Do you have anything to say for yourself, sir? No? During this level, we constantly get spoken to by Dr. Brane, and this is the first time we actually really get him speaking to us specifically. He was the supervisor at Black Mesa when Gordon worked there, and he's not very fond of you. And to be fair, it really does seem like Dr. Brane is trying his hardest to do the right thing. He's in cahoots with the Combine, and really, without him, all of humanity would probably be extinct. But at a lot of points it really seems like he's trying to do everything for himself, considering the conditions that everyone outside the Citadel lives in. We finally get to meet him face to face. He attempts to strike a deal with Gordon, but unfortunately for him, that's not going to happen. He makes a run for it and we follow. Brane attempts to get this teleporter working so that he can escape. We then have to fight 2 gunships, but eventually manage to destroy the teleporter, but that doesn't necessarily go in the greatest direction for us.
You did it! Come on, Gordon. We've got to get out of here. Maybe we still have...
Time, Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again? Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you. If and when your time comes round again. In the meantime, this is where I get off.
And that is where the game ends. To be honest, I think it was quite a sudden ending and I was expecting a little bit more, but I did also enjoy the G-Man's speech. Half-Life 2, in my opinion, succeeds its predecessor greatly, and does a great job at building off of the original game. Its setting was wildly different from the closed off and isolated event of Black Mesa, but I for one really enjoyed this change and it felt like a natural continuation of what happened in the first game. Just like with Half-Life 1, I believe that everybody should play Half-Life 2 at some point, and I once again see what made Half-Life so special.